Regular board meeting of January 24th will come to order. We'll take a roll call. Ms. Cotter.
Yes, thank you. Grab my pencil. All set. Mr. Wiseman.
Here.
Mrs. Pastana.
Here.
Mrs. Forrest.
Here.
Mrs. Dodd.
Here.
Ms. Cotter is here. Oh, can't forget the boss, Mr. Carlson.
Yeah, I'm here too. Thank you.
All right.
Please rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. My right, your left in the audience. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll now ask for approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Mr. Wiseman?
Yes. I make
Second.
a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Mr. Wiseman makes the motion, seconded by Ms. Pastana. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. Agenda approved. There are no board president comments this evening. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Salah regarding item 2C recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will turn it over to Ms. Rutt.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, members of the community. It's my honor this evening to introduce our Huron Valley hero for this evening. Mr. Scott Rolando, many of you know him. He is our Lakeland leadership teacher extraordinaire. And so he and some of his students are going to talk with us tonight about a very special program that they do annually at Lakeland High School and the great things going on in the leadership group. Once they do that, our board member Wiseman will come up and present the group with a certificate. So Mr. Rolando.
Hello, ooh, that's loud. Hello, I'm Scott Rolando. I'm the Student Activities Director and Leadership Teacher here at Lakeland High School. We're just here to talk about Holiday Hope for Kids, which is our community service charity program we do around the holidays here at Lakeland. I got a couple students who are going to talk about some information about it, and then I'll come back and give a little history, and we'll do a little thing. So go ahead.
All right. So unfortunately, due to COVID this year, we were unable to do our big party where we give out the gifts to everyone. But it still had its like special meaning behind it because we got to raise the money and just really give those gifts to kids that don't exactly get all of those gifts.
Is the green light on, Mr. Rolando?
The green light is on, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
We have to get
maybe a little closer to the mic.
Sorry. Many of our students from our class thought it was really amazing and it was really rewarding. We'd like to thank everyone who donated and thank you, Mr. Rolando, for everything you do.
All right, so my name is Liv Robbins. I'm part of the leadership team. And I just like to touch base on the Thanksgiving food drive that we did. We decided collectively as a class that we wanted to do something special to give back to our community. So we contacted Community Sharing and got a list of stuff they were in need of. This gave us a basis of what to include and what to ask our students to bring. We want to thank all the Lakeland students that donated and also Miss Eckerly's class. Her class alone contributed more than 600 food items. And our school-wide goal was 1,200. We reached over 1,400. We are so proud of our Lakeland students.
No, she's like, no. Okay. So, a little history. So the Holiday Hope for Kids program is the longest running program in school history. It's longer than homecoming because the first year Lakeland was open, they didn't have a homecoming, but we had Holiday Hope for Kids. was under a different name. So that hence the longest running program. Year to date, the program has raised over $250,000 for special needs kids all across Oakland County, from everywhere from the Waterford Public Schools to just all over Huron Valley specifically. Obviously, the last few years due to COVID, we've only been able to run our program within Huron Valley. We haven't gone outside and ventured out, but we're hoping next year and in future years to make sure we bring back the big party that Amanda mentioned, where the students are able to come and we have a big like presentation with lunch and Santa and everybody gets a present and all those things. We surpassed our goal this year. We wanted to raise $6,000 and we raised over $6,000 for it. And I want to thank our Lakeland student body and our administration for their support for coming out to our big annual bowl-a-thon, which has been going on for over 45 years. And just like I said, this program is phenomenal. I feel privileged to have taken it over from former counselor, Mr. John Janitis, who passed away a few years ago, who ran the program and started the program originally here. And it's just an honor to be a part of it and to keep the tradition going over the last, 45 or so years. So thank you.
It is a great honor on behalf of the rest of the school board to present this certificate. Mr. Rolando, your organization, your leadership group is beyond description. The work that all of you do and all the students at Lakeland do on a daily basis from the leadership standpoint is amazing. We always talk about that our school district is certainly much more than mortar and brick, and that the outreach that our students do on a daily basis have a profound impact on our community. And this is certainly an example of that. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the board for all that you do. It has been a great pleasure to, as a board member and the rest of the board, to participate many times in the Holiday Hope for Kids. Look forward to bringing this back into the confines of Lakeland. But at the same time, the outreach that you've done is just absolutely amazing. I'm glad that you clarified that you were not the person that originated the bowl-a-thon 45 years ago, but maybe 43 years ago. 43 years. I'll cut you a break. But girls, thank you very much. And please, on behalf of the rest of the board, please pass on our appreciation, our respect, and our gratitude for everything that you do. And saying that, I have a small token of our appreciation. Huron Valley Hero Award bestowed this day to honor Lakeland leadership for ongoing excellence and commitment to community outreach through the Holiday Hope for Kids program, January 24th, 2022. So once again, thank you very much. And I'm going to give this to one of you. There you go. You guys do all the work. All right.
If you could wait there just for a second, any comments from the board? Ms. Pastana.
No, I just want to thank you. It's a great program year after year, and I know you guys work really hard, and I know when it's in building, the kids have such a good time. So I know it'll come back that one day. Thanks.
Denise?
Just pretty much the same. Just thank you, Mr. Rolando, and students for what you do for our schools. And I do remember Mr. Janitis when I student taught here, so I had the privilege of meeting him too, and then I had the privilege of meeting you, Mr. Rolando. So keep doing up this great work.
Yeah, Mr. Rolando, I just want to, the voice of Lakeland, but I want to thank you for your leadership with the leadership class and all the work that you've done to keep this proud tradition of Lakeland going. Service before self. And I think this is a great program that teaches our students how important it is to give back to the community. And I say that as a school board member, but I also say it as a father. I know that this program's had a great impact on both my daughter and my son. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
And now for our highlights, Ms. Rutt. Oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't need to be you. It's Mr. Dowker. Yes, Mr. Dowker from Harbor is going to highlight programs at Harbor High School.
Come on down.
Come on down. I just like to assign things to you, Kim, whenever possible. And you always take them so gracefully.
And just a small correction, and actually that's part of the reason why we're here today. We want to highlight adult education this evening. So we're going to be talking about adult education in our programs. And here with me today, hopefully not too nervous, is Theresa Prichard, one of our instructors, and Erica Morse, a former student. Sorry, Fred, I'm going to have to look this way. No, that's all right. So I just want to highlight a few of our programs to begin with, and then we're going to talk more specifically a little bit about the CNA program. Sorry, technology, I'm going to get to the right spot. Missing slide, but I'm going to go with it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about not Harbor High School, but adult education programs in general. One of the things that we just absolutely pride ourselves on, and I'm going to point out two folks in the crowd right now, and they probably don't want me to do that, is Karen Gerard, I'm going to wave, and Kelly Vela, also wave. We're a small group of folks working really hard together for one mission. Make sure every single student beyond the age of 18 has the opportunity for a diploma or a GED. And I say that very easily like that, but it is tremendously difficult. The one thing I always like to recognize at the very beginning of each one of our new sessions is just the amount of courage that it takes for folks to come back years later after they haven't finished something that they're beating themselves up for years previous. And so it's just an enormous amount of pride that I get out of our graduation ceremony that's combined at the end of each year to recognize all of those folks who came through our doors feeling like they couldn't do it, and they did. It is absolutely tremendous. So some of the programs under our umbrella are, we have a GED program. So folks can come back later and do their GED and prepare for it, get classes, and then we have a GED testing center right in our facility. We do an adult completion for high school. So we have actual high school classes run by a lot of our HVS teachers in the nighttime program, and other folks from other neighboring districts helping us out during the daytime and also at night. And then also we have a CNA program, which is what we're going to be talking about here this evening. The CNA program is Certified Nurse Assistant Program. And broadly speaking, and I'll let these two speak longer than I will because I won't be quiet if I keep rolling, the requirements are state mandated. Students come to us and they have to have 57 hours of class and lab experience in our certified lab right at the Brooks Center. And then they do 18 hours of clinical time experience in a long-term care facility that we partner with. And then after that, they have to do a prometric testing through the state of Michigan to get their certification and be a CNA. CNAs typically work in a variety of different fields, from hospitals to long-term care facilities. And many folks start off as CNAs and then move on through the medical profession, or maybe just stay as CNAs. One of the quotes that I want to just highlight a little bit, because I really, really want to honor our healthcare professionals, especially now, dealing with what we're dealing with right now. It highlights just the heroism of that profession. And the profession is all about caring for someone who cannot care for themselves with the dignity and kindness that they deserve. I don't think we can do enough to honor those healthcare professionals out there working every single day to keep this health and safety. So like I said, I'm going to just keep talking unless I hand this over. So I am going to hand this over. Next up at the mic is going to be Theresa Prichard. She's been working with us for the last 5 years, and she is the teacher for our certified nurse assistant program.
Thank you. Mr. Weissman, I don't know if you remember me or not, gave me my first job as a school nurse, and that was almost 15 years ago. So thank you very much. The mentorship is really great because we can bring in all different levels of people who are interested in doing something to help others. So we work with all age groups. We get people right out of high school or almost out of high school, and they work with us to finish their high school education and then move them into a job that's going to help them pay more and get them the start, the skill start. They need to understand what professional caregiving is all about and how that they can translate that to other skills that move them in the health administration as well as taking care of patients. Lots of job opportunities out there, tons and tons of opportunities. But one of the things we teach in the class is professionalism. This is not adult babysitting. And that's really important for people to have an idea that these are adults in most cases who are caring for adults. And they need to have a sensitivity and they need to develop boundaries and understanding of who that person is and try and meet that person where they are, giving them the care and service they need. The next steps are to get more people. We probably put through maybe 20, 25 people through the program. I've hired 4 or 5 of them for my work. There's lots of people who want to come and meet these folks and give them opportunities as well, lots of incentives, and maybe we can even put through a class of 20 on our own in the next time. So thank you for the opportunity to present. It's a great program, love teaching, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Theresa. So next up is going to be Aaa Morse. Erica took our CNA session, not this last one, but the one after. And so she's going to be talking a little bit about the overall class experience, clinical experience, and then CNA opportunities in the future.
Hello there. My name is Aaa Morse, and thanks for giving me a little chance to speak with you about my experience in the CNA program. My background is actually in gerontology. That's what my bachelor's in. I usually call myself a freelance gerontologist, and I also do some caregiving as well, hands-on caregiving. But my biggest reason for taking the CNA course was that I've learned a lot of things through osmosis when it comes to caring for elders and adults. And I've been working with elders since I was 14. So I felt that I knew a lot and I could really adapt, especially with my gerontology degree, adapt to the psychosocial aspects and the family aspects and those types of things. But what the CNA course really gives you confidence in is all of that clinical know-how that these vulnerable adults really need help with. Right? Because most people who are older also have other clinical comorbidities that we have to take care of. So the refresher on infection control, how to move people, being able to like see a hospital bed in action, do a bed bath, working with the lifts, things of that nature, which whether you work in a facility or you work in someone's home, you may encounter that. The other thing I noticed doing a lot of private care in people's homes is that people can decline quickly or have changes in condition quickly, that even as a lay caregiver who things might have been fine being a companionship and helping with some household services, you might very quickly need to have these skills and there's no one to teach you. So part of my call as well as a gerontologist who wants to change the industry and provide better senior care is trying to help identify other types of caregivers. It doesn't have to be just someone who's on a nursing track. It doesn't have to be someone who's just starting out in their career. It can also be looked at as a career for people who have retired and want to give back in another way. And even if you want to stay in a private home, the CNA course itself really provides a lot of valuable information. Even if you were a family caregiver and you're taking on that role, it's something that you could come in and really learn and see if it's something you'd want to take on outside of a family role and even as a professional. The wonderful thing about the Huron Valley course, the course at Brooks, is that it's super affordable, the most affordable one I've ever found. And also it's not a 2-week block of time, which is what I see for a lot of courses. A lot of courses will make you do it consecutive full time. And if you're a working mom, someone who has other responsibilities or a full-time job you can't put on hold for 2 weeks, you probably can't come take this course and better yourself. So the fact that the course is spread out over a handful of weeks, it's a few days through, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but just the the structure of the course and the cost of the course makes it very available to people. So my hope is that after hearing like our testimony today, that you guys can start looking at people in your life who would be good caregivers and start trying to funnel them into this program, because we all know that the wave of seniors coming that are going to need this kind of care it's not stopping. So there's huge opportunity here, and it doesn't have to be just in a hospital setting. It can be in all sorts of settings. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. As for the clinical experience, and when we partner, we were at West Hickory Haven for our clinical experience. And to be honest, I thought that was one of the best places. I've been in and out of different skilled nursing facilities in my career, and going to something that is primarily long-term care, that has a staff that has low turnover rate, and to really see what a day looks like in a facility and what the needs are, it gave us a lot of experience. And they really let us do a lot while we were there. They needed our help, but also because of that, we were able to, I think, get a lot accomplished in those few days we were there. But overall, yeah, I think I've covered most of it. I think that what I'll leave on is when people feel, how I look at it is, if you have a heart to be a caregiver, I can teach you the skills. You can learn the skill set. It's having the heart to be a caregiver, to know how to respect someone, to meet them on their level, to anticipate their needs and treat them with the dignity and honor that you would want in your older years, or if you were in a situation where you couldn't care for yourself. So if someone really wants to, give back, and they're just intimidated by the skill set, don't worry about that. You can get taught that, and the CNA program can do that for you. Thank you.
I just realized I should have just had Erica do the whole thing. Thank you, Erica. I want to just end on a couple highlights of upcoming things that are in our future. Erica noted that we partner with West Hickory Haven, which is off of Commerce and Hickory Ridge, right outside of Milford, for our clinical time space. We were approached by Metalodge to partner with them as well, and we just finalized our partnership. And they have 200 uncertified folks in our regional area that we're going to skill up with the CNA certification, and that's going to begin this month. So we're very, very, very excited about that. And we just can't wait to help other skilled adults or adults without these skills gain the confidence in this profession that they have, and either care for their loved ones in their own lives or take on professional gigs in the medical field. So we're just happy to be a part of this whole mission of helping folks get skilled up and better themselves and the lives of their families. So thank you for this time. And if there are any questions, I don't mind.
Laura Dodd.
I always like to know, what does affordable mean? What does this program cost students?
We charge $450 per tuition-based students. However, if the student doesn't have a GED or a diploma, we don't charge tuition. That includes books, and so it's actually a little less than $450. Comparable programs are $600 plus.
Yeah. Wow. I am incredibly impressed. I'm always impressed. The work that you do with adult education and at Harbor and with this program, the fact that you now are having this partnership and you're going to get 200 people who are currently uncertified certified. What a wonderful gift for them to be able to do that in our community for the folks who are aging and need the care. So thank you, all of you, for everything you do, and the two of you out there too. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Weissman.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ben and Erica, Theresa. It's great to see you again after all these years. But I too want to say thank you. I think this once again talks about opportunities that are unique in the Huron Valley School District. That really is something special, because most school districts don't have these opportunities. And not only does it provide a path if a student chooses to get their GED or their high school diploma, but it really is an outreach to our community in a much needed area, and provides the wherewithal for training as our community ages out, and also provides an opportunity for healthcare in a much needed area. So once again, it's not something that we take for granted, because it's something that's unique to Huron Valley, and most school districts don't offer this opportunity. So thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Any other? Ms. Cotter.
Yes, I don't have a question, just a comment. I'm really want to thank you that this program is available to our community. And I would encourage those people who are caring for parents that they have this opportunity available to them. I was an active caregiver for my parents who I lost at age 91 and 95, and we kept them at home. And it was because I had a friend who was able to coach my sister and I through a lot of the care for my parents. But this is a fantastic opportunity for members of our community to help take care of their family. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Yep, thanks. Take care.
All right, we'll now move to section 3, items from the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also add my thank yous to Ben, Erica, and Theresa. Outstanding job. My wife is a registered nurse, and as I listened to the both of you in particular talk so passionately about your craft, I felt like I was hearing my wife. Many of the same passion, the same words. Thank you for your service. I appreciate the work that you're doing. And Mr. Dowker, always an outstanding job. Thank you so much. So I have a few items this evening, Mr. President. And first and foremost, good evening to those of you that are here in the listening audience, and good evening to those of you that are watching via live stream. I know the roads were a little touch and go this evening, so we may have some folks tuning in virtually. I have 3 things this item. 2 are listed on the agenda. The third is just another security update I wanted to share with our listening audience. Now, we have selected a security firm to conduct our audit. We've selected Recon Management, LLC. They do this security type audit work across the globe, including several local school districts in Southeast Michigan. They've already started requesting documents and information from us, including things like our emergency operating procedures, and they will be engaged in district for several weeks as they go through our entire operation with really a fine-tooth comb and offer several hopefully key recommendations and some highlights of some of the really good things that we're doing as a school district as well. So I'm pleased to report that work is moving forward as was desired and planned. Second, I'd like to take item B first, and that is to introduce Troy Wizink to the Huron Valley Schools. That's our new Director of Technology. Troy, you can make your way up. I'm going to make a couple comments here. One thing I will tell you, in the very short time that Troy has been here, what's jumped out to me about Troy is he's a relationship person. He's highly competent, and he focuses on curriculum instruction first. And that's one of the things I really liked that you said in your interview, Troy. When we started asking you tech questions, you always brought it back to the curriculum instruction, because that's what we do. That's our business. It's curriculum instruction. And so it's refreshing to hear that come from somebody with a technology background. So Troy holds a bachelor's degree in business management from Clear University, a master's in cybersecurity from the University of Detroit Mercy. Troy comes to us from the Saline area schools. Sorry for them, happy for us, where he spent 20 years of his career. Troy spent 2 years as a technology specialist, 9 years as a network administrator, 4 years as an IT manager, and most recently as the IT director. His wealth of information, experience, knowledge is going to be a gift to the Huron Valley Schools community. So Troy, welcome to Huron Valley Schools. Let's give him a nice round of applause. And I'd like to invite you to share some thoughts with us.
Yeah, well, first of all, just thank you so much, Dr. Salah, for this opportunity. I'm very excited. Like to repay you the comment after only a short time here. I can tell that you, and from the top down, all of Huron Valley Schools value people and culture first. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm very excited to be here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Troy. We're excited to have you. Welcome to the family.
All right. Is that it? Nope. Oh, he's got another one more. All right.
So January is school board recognition month. And I just want to take a few minutes. I've prepared some comments that I'd like to share with the board this evening, with our community. Not everybody knows what the work of a board entails, and I think it's important just to spend a few minutes and highlight some of that. So January is School Board Recognition Month. The Huron Valley Board of Education is elected by the Huron Valley community. Board members are citizens and Huron Valley residents who ensure that decisions impacting students, staff, and community are well thought out, that they're prudent, and that they are responsible for all. These decisions, especially over the last 2 years, have been more challenging than any in our lifetimes. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the students and staff to thank each one of you for your tremendous dedication and commitment to service and excellence focused upon inspiring and building futures, one student at a time. Each board member dedicates countless hours volunteering time away from family, friends, and recreation to make our community a better place to live, to work, to learn, to grow, and to retire. While our board is focused upon policy, budget, and governance, each brings a unique personality that has enriched our school community and me personally as a superintendent and as a leader. Mr. Carlson has taught me things about procurement, competitive bidding processes, and construction management that I would never have otherwise learned if not for his background and experiences. Ms. Forrest's passion for the arts and public education continues to challenge my thinking and push me to never settle for good enough. Ms. Cotter's knowledge, history, and experience as a public educator and board member has provided me with a historical perspective that lets me know and understand where we have come from so we can ultimately be where we want to be. Ms. Pastana's focus on people first and viewing the world through an emotionally intelligent lens helps foster a healthy balance on the board. Mr. Wiseman is the most invested grandparent I have ever seen, and I truly aspire to be like him for my own grandchildren someday. He's a tremendous example of a good human being that cares about his school district and his community. Ms. Dodd's open-mindedness and creative thinking around just about every topic imaginable is impressive and helps us move forward toward a brighter future. And Mr. Long's knowledge of the construction industry and the trades in general was deep and exhaustive, and he will be missed on this board by the district and the community as a whole. The thing that is fascinating about 7 board members is that I just described is how different they are from one another. While they are 7 separate individuals, they operate as one board. They speak with one voice. They don't agree on everything, but they respect one another, just like they respect the community they were elected to serve. I love working for this community, and I feel blessed to work with each one of you board members. On behalf of the Huron Valley School students and staff, thank you for your service. As a token of my appreciation, I'd like to present you each with a globe that has your name inscribed along with the mission statement. The globe reads, I'm going to take one out here. I have Mr. Carlson's. Rocket. It reads, Sean Carlson, inspiring and building futures one student at a time. So, and each board member will receive that this evening. You also, as is customary, have a plethora of handwritten cards from several of our students from across the school district, and they're in the envelope located to your right. And I know how much the board appreciates those personal notes from students from across the district, sharing many different things from you. So with that, Mr. President, that concludes my comments this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Salah. Very, very thoughtful. And on behalf of the board, thank you very much for the thoughtfulness and the words that you've expressed. I also want to extend a happy birthday. I understand it was your birthday yesterday, so happy birthday. And thank you for being part of this district.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, we'll now move to items from the board. Board Secretary.
Yes, I have no correspondence to share tonight.
Okay, Board Treasurer.
No, nothing for me.
Okay, Vice President Forrest.
No, just thank you to our students for giving us these cards. We look forward to this every year, and I feel like maybe I look a little like this person on the back, so appreciate it.
All right, Ms. Dodd.
I had the bonus of bringing home extra cards that didn't get turned in on time from my daughter's class. So on top of these and the others, very appreciated. Thank you. It's very kind.
Mr. Weissman.
Nothing other than thank you to all the students. I've already had an opportunity to get a couple chuckles from a couple of the cards. So thank you very much. I look forward to reading them.
All right, we'll now move to student leadership comment. Do we have any? None this evening. Association comment. Ms. Hollander.
Good evening. I'm so glad to be back here with all of you tonight. Unfortunately, for the last board meeting, like many of our staff and students, I was home quarantined with COVID. I watched the meeting through the live stream and was so glad that Kim Rabideau had the opportunity to highlight our invaluable paraprofessionals. Our educators rely on our paraprofessionals each day, and we are so grateful for their partnership as we work together to educate our students. Often, my association comments focus on a particular group of educators or exciting news that I want to share. Tonight, however, I want to take time to talk about the Huron Valley Education Association as a whole. The HVEA is made up of our Huron Valley teachers, speech and language pathologists, counselors, psychologists, social workers, and our teacher leaders. Currently, we have 528 educators in Huron Valley. Out of those 528 educators, our most senior educator was hired way back in 1989. And our most recent teacher was hired just last week. Our dedication to Huron Valley is evident, as over 30% of our educators have worked in the Valley for over 20 years. Our goal as an association is to work to address the needs of our educators so that they can come to school each day and concentrate on their most important role, educating and supporting our students. As it has been said many times before, our educators' working conditions are our students' learning conditions. I am so grateful for a position which allows me to advocate for our educators. Through addressing their needs, answering their questions, clarifying information, and being a listening ear, I am able to take a piece of the heaviness off of their job and take it off of their shoulders so they can focus on their students. But certainly, I can't do it alone. I am so fortunate to have a dedicated executive board made up of 9 educators from around the district and Theresa Fitzpatrick, our MEA UNISERV director. I appreciate all of their perspectives, commitment to our educators, and willingness to meet when needed. And there have been a lot of extra meetings over the last 2 years. But it is our building reps who hold the key to the support that our educators receive. We have 44 building reps, usually about 2 to 3 per building. They are our frontline association heroes. Our building reps hear every concern, question, wonder, and worry. They communicate with our educators, brainstorm solutions, and work with our principals and the HVEA leadership to support our staff. The time and energy they put in to support our educators is priceless. Just as our building reps often meet with their principals, The HVEA leadership communicates regularly with Central Office Administration and you, the Board of Education. This partnership is vital for the good of our students and staff as we continue to move our district forward. These conversations gives us the opportunity to share our concerns, explain our whys, and seek solutions to support our staff and students. So here we are, your 528 Huron Valley educators. We come from a variety of backgrounds and have many different thoughts and opinions. This is not unexpected. As with most larger groups of people, many diverse opinions emerge. It is extremely important to me, as the president of the HVEA, to communicate regularly with our educators, to listen to everyone in our association, to hear their concerns, and to work with the HVEA leadership and our district leadership to address those needs. These past years have created a reality that none of us would have expected. We have times that we are all exhausted, angry, frustrated, and desperately crave a return to the past. But despite our exhaustion, despite our frustration, and despite our different opinions, our shared goal as HVEA members is to educate our students and support the families of Huron Valley. We, the educators of Huron Valley, come together to spend our days supporting each other as colleagues within our buildings and across the district. We, the educators of Huron Valley, come together and spend our days supporting our students and their families. And we, the educators of Huron Valley, come together and spend our days in the public education system, where all students have the opportunity to learn and grow. We are the proud public school educators of the Huron Valley Education Association. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have public comment. We do have a couple of public comment forms, but they're all non-agenda related. So we will now move forward with reports from the board committees, standing committees. First one up is Executive Committee. We have not had a meeting since our last board meeting, but we do have one scheduled for January 31st, next Monday, 9:30 a.m. TLT, Teaching, Learning, Technology.
Sure. Our last meeting was January 21st, last Friday at 10 a.m. at the administration building. Called to order at 10:07. Present, myself, Mrs. Cotter, Mrs. Pastana, Mr. Tavernier, Dr. Sala, Jennifer Bjorkman, Lena Nemeth, and Terry Thompson. We did not have any public comment. Our regular agenda items, we talked about two kind of interesting things. Thing number one, Summer Academy. We talked about just what do we need to know? What are we looking at? The committee discussed opportunities that exist for offering Summer Academy. Several items for consideration were discussed, including budget, interest, program location, and staffing. A survey is going to be developed to gather input and interest. Second thing on our agenda was schools of choice and open enrollment. Mr. Tavernier reviewed the schools of choice and open enrollment guidelines for 22-23. This year, families will be asked to commit for a full year for enrollment in the virtual academy. I'm going to say that again, a full year for enrollment in the virtual academy, because that is a change. Information will be sent to families in the next few weeks. Moving on to other consent agenda, there are no consent agenda items this evening. And we also talked about our favorite board policy that we seem to talk about quite frequently, 5127. And it was determined that further language changes are needed to board policy 5127, which are graduation requirements and the classes required to graduate. These changes were reviewed and approved to move to new business on the agenda this evening. We adjourned at 11:04, and our next meeting is Friday, February 4th at 10 a.m. at the administration building.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. We'll now move to Finance and Operations. Treasurer Pastana.
Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, January 19th at 2:30 in the administration building. Present were myself, Mr. Wiseman, Ms. Cotter, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Maruskin, Miss Timberlake, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Wenreck, and Miss Cassie. There was no public comment. Consent agenda items tonight. There will be the UTEC copier printer lease. So Jeffrey spoke on how HVS has rented our copiers and printers for the last several years under a contract with UTEC, which expired in November of 2021. Our intention is to lease for the next 5 years with the option to own, which creates a savings of $30,000 to $50,000 annually in our general fund. We are asking the board to approve the municipal lease with UTEC for a period of 60 months in this evening's consent agenda. There was no unfinished business. New business, Laura Cassie talked about the furniture. She's from TMP Architecture. We spoke about Bid Pack 5. Part 2 about Media Center and Early Childhood Center furniture purchases. We're asking the board to award contracts to multiple contractors as noted on TMP Architecture's recommendation letter dated January 14th. This project is funded from the 2020 Capital Projects Fund. Then we talked about bus purchases. So Jeffrey spoke on behalf of the district and is recommending the purchase of 5 special education and 2 general education buses from Midwest Transit Company. The purchase of the buses will be made through the MSBO Cooperative Bus Purchasing Program. We are asking the board to approve the purchase of these buses this evening. The amount is $783,070. DVRs and cameras will to be purchased as part of the bond schedule. In other, we had a bond construction update. Don Rogers from Clark Construction updated us on Bid Pack 4 bond and sinking fund project tracking, summary log, and the remaining work to be complete on their punch list. It was asked if they see any sign of reprieve in the supply chain issues, of which the reply was that our timeline is hopeful and we will continue to be communicating. Clark will be more proactive and prepared for supply chain downfalls leading into Bid Pack 5. They will be doing some pull-ahead work, given any opportunity to help with the summer workload, and are using the same site superintendents at our sister schools, which should benefit us. TMP is working on shop drawing approvals to get as much ordered as soon as possible. Bill from TMP spoke about interior doors, Oak Valley parking lot, Expo, storm update, and the water infrastructure. The doors are about the door and the hardware replacement package to be bid out in April with a goal of it being on the streets in May. This should take place in all of our buildings. He also updated us on the reconstruction process for the parking lot. They will have an engineer evaluate the traffic flow. We spoke of the Expo's drainage challenges. This project will be bid out and work completed this summer, replacing the damaged pipe. And he spoke of the bidding out for the water infrastructure. Spalding DeDecker will take charge of this under TMP's wings in conjunction with White Lake Township. Demolition of the water tower is also part of that project. Then we talked about the vacant land offer. So Jeffrey spoke of the offer for our 2 remaining vacant lots for sale. The committee spoke of this being the prime time to sell as it is not an ideal place of land to build on. So this is attractive to the single landowner who has put in the bid. We will take this to executive committee, and if they concur, then it will go to February 7th board meeting for approval. Last, we had an update. John Reby updated us on the recent carbon monoxide occurrence at Lakeland High School. An improvement for this challenge is to include a custom fabricated fitting to our intake. And in the meantime, each day, the building foreman is monitoring wind flow and closes the louver if the southwest winds are detected. In regards to the fire protection main, which broke and flooded 5 classrooms, we have disaster relief company assisting in the restoration of said classrooms. I'm not making fun of this, but it was quite a discussion about the flow intake valve. Very lengthy. The meeting was adjourned at 4:05 and our next meeting is February 2nd.
Okay, well, thank you for that riveting report. So let me, the Communications, Marketing, and Legislative, they did not meet. Jeff Long, the chair, as I reported at our last board meeting, has stepped down from the board. I'll just take the moment of opportunity that there might be a little bit of reformulating of the committees. So we'll wait to see who the new board member is, but just to be flexible, and then we'll make that determination at that time. I'll now go to Arts, Athletics, and the Activities Ad Hoc Committee.
Thank you. We did meet on January 14th, but I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mr. Tavernier to give the report, since my two-step verification Lifeline phone is in the car. So really good security here. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. So the Arts, Athletics, Activities Committee met on January 14th. The meeting was called to order at 8:33. Present was Denise Forrest, Laura Dodd, myself, Dr. Salah, Jennifer Bjorkman, and Lena Nemeth. There was no public comment. We had two regular agenda items. The first was looking at the individualized data. The committee discussed the data collected indicating the number of students participating in one or more athletic, club, activity, or other school-sponsored event at the middle school and high school level. And we noted that there was a high level of participation in any one of those things from our student body. The second thing we looked at was a draft of the survey, the staff survey. Ms. Nemeth shared a draft of the AAA survey. The survey has been released. At the time it was going to be open for the next couple weeks, so that has been sent out to staff to gather their feedback and input. We had two other items. Community engagement. The committee discussed opportunities for increasing community engagement with our arts program. Specifically, we talked about Council for the Arts and other opportunities like that in the community. And we also looked at program review. Options for program review, including the use of the MAEIA, which is the Michigan Arts Educational Instruction Assessment Program Review Tool. The committee adjourned at 10 a.m., and our next meeting is Wednesday, February 2nd at 4:30.
Thank you for that report. We'll now move to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve A1 through A4?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pastana. Is there a
Support.
second? Support by Ms. Dodd. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved as presented. We'll now move to unfinished business, the superintendent's contract. As you all know, our school district is comprised of over 1,300 employees. We are one of the top 25 employers in Oakland County. Over the last 4 or 5 months, we've worked hard. This administration team has worked hard to negotiate and work out agreements with the various employee groups and working groups. And as we've made our way from the parapros to the secretaries to the custodial staff to the teachers and administrators, and then we did our central office administration team, our COAT, and in true leadership form, we are now with our last contract, which is the superintendent. And so what you have in front of you, our superintendent started in 2018. I think officially, I think Dr. Karate left on the 31st, and you had the full helm starting January 1st, 2019. And of course, you weren't on the job but about 13 or 14 months until you hit a pandemic. So appreciate your resilience in this position and continuing to go forward. What we are asking in this contract and what we've negotiated was a 3% salary increase base retroactive to the beginning of the 21-22 school year, 2% off schedule, retroactive to be paid. And that is consistent with what we have done with the other work groups as well. There's also an increase in the annuity by 1% and also an increase of the car allowance by $52. I think what's important through this process, and we've had extensive conversation at the executive committee, and I think I provided it in the report as well. What's important for this district moving forward is for us to do a compensation study, not only on the superintendent, but on our central office administration team, our various principals and administrators, our teachers, and our different work groups. So we will work to hire a third-party group to conduct a compensation study. I think it's important. We know how tight the labor market is, how difficult it has been. We are in the year of what they call the Great Resignation, and it is affecting every industry, and ours is no different here in the school district of Huron Valley. So I think it's important for us to get in front of this on our various groups. But what we're asking for approval tonight is that negotiation as I just presented. And so if I can get a motion and a second, and then we'll go ahead if there's any discussion. Mr. Weissman.
Yes. Excuse me. I move that the Board of Education approve the amendments to the superintendent contract as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Mr. Weissman, seconded by Ms. Pastana. Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
And Mrs. Pastana.
Yes.
Mrs. Dodd.
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Superintendent contract is approved. All right, we'll now move to new business. Under new business, item A, review procedures and applications for board appointment. So I just want to give a little bit of overview. It's unique in the fact that this is recognition of school board month. But I am going to just point out a few things. What are legal authority of the Board of Education? I think it's appropriate, not only the fact that it's recognition of school board members, but what we have in front of us in regards to new school board member being on this Board of Education. The legal authority for the Board of Education in the state of Michigan is, educate students, provide for the safety and welfare of students, acquire, maintain, and dispose of school property, determine matters relating to employees and contractors, make joint agreements and cooperative arrangements, set the curriculum and courses taught in the schools, employ the superintendent, adopt a budget, decide whether or not to furnish transportation for pupils, negotiate with employee unions regarding salaries and other conditions of employment. And individual school board members have no authority to act independently. They can't commit or bind the board by their individual actions. Powers and duties of the board must be exercised by the board as a whole. The checklist, and this checklist was demonstrated in the application that we put out to the community as well. And there's really kind of a 9 items on this checklist for qualified school board candidates is number 1, putting children first. Number 2, no personal or political agenda. 3, providing leadership. 4, appreciating diversity. 5, understanding budget and finances. 6, knowing educational policy. 7, demonstrating integrity. 8, understands community outreach. And 9, expects accountability. So those items, I am very pleased and proud of the fact that we had community members that came forward for public service. School boards have not been the most popular place to be in the last 12 to 18 months. But in true fashion in Huron Valley, we have citizens constantly stepping up and stepping out and willing to serve their community. We've had other board position openings in the past. In my 14 years on the board, I've done this maybe 5 or 6 times. And we've always had anywhere from 7 to 15 applications. I'm proud to report that we announced this at the last board meeting, which was on January 10th, when we received the resignation letter from Jeff Long. We started the process, and I believe, Lori, we posted it the very next day. I'm looking at Kim Rutt and Lori Hill. And then that would have been January 11th. January 21st at 4 p.m., which was last Friday, was the cutoff and the due date. We received 11 applications as of that 4 p.m. deadline. There was a late application, a 12th application that came in at 4:30. What was distributed to this Board of Education on Friday evening were 11 applications. We, of those 11 applications, just a little bit of a background on each of the 6 of those applications were from females, 5 were received from males. 5 of them came from residents that live in Commerce Township, 3 of them from residents that live in Milford, the village of Milford or the township of Milford, and 3 of them came from Highland Township. The average residency in district of the application, two of the applications, we had residents that have lived in the district less than 3 years. We had 2 applications where folks lived in Huron Valley School District 3 to 5. 1 application where the applicant has lived from 5 to 10 years in the district. We received three applications from folks that lived in the district 10 to 20 years, and then 3 applications that came in from folks that lived in the district for 20 plus years. I was pleased. All of these were great applications. All 11 applicants responded positively to the question in regards to working and becoming certified as a board member from the Michigan Association of School Boards. All 11 applicants understood that serving on the Board of Education is a nonpartisan position. All 11 applicants responded positively regarding their role on the Board of Education to advocate for public education at the state and federal levels. I think that that's important to note. Those are very important responsibilities, and all of the applicants spoke of that. I'm very, very pleased at the applications we received, and a very heartfelt thank you to all of these applicants. I know that school board members, you had some homework as of Friday night, so you may have not been able to enjoy all 4 of the NFL games that were on, so apologize for that. But we're going to open this process up. We would like to conduct interviews. I had a special board meeting, which will be on Wednesday. I announced that on January 10th, that would be the date that we would select. And if required, we'll find other dates if necessary. I'm going to open this up at this point in time. I know each of you was responsible for reviewing these and coming forward and nominating candidates that you would like to hear from in the interview process. And so I'm just going to open it up for comments and nominations at this point in time. I'll recognize Ms. Forrest.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Carlson. As Sean said, there were many, many excellent applications, and we're pleased to have received 11. As he said, you know, we have real dedicated folks here in the Valley. At this time, one that stood out for me, and I would like to forward her name to my fellow board members. I'd like to advance Amy Grismakowski to the interview process that will be held on Wednesday. And here's some of the reasons why. I know Amy's been active in Huron Valley Schools for many years in various capacities as a parent, and she is student-focused. And she's very civic-minded and has served and continues to serve her community. So I appreciate that about Amy, and she did work tirelessly to help us all successfully pass our bond and sinking fund renewal in 2019. And some of the characteristics of Ms. Grismakowski that stood out for me that would serve our board here very well in our Huron Valley community is integrity, empathy, problem solving, and collegiality. So these are some of the reasons that I would like to hear more from Amy during the interview process. Thank you, Mr. Carlson.
Thank you. Is there a second or support for that nomination for an interview? Ms. Dodd, okay. All right. Are there any other candidates that anyone would like to advance? Ms. Cotter.
Mr. Carlson? Again, it was a tedious weekend. I actually enjoyed reading these and put them down and went back to them a number of times during the weekend and was shuffling my papers around. Anyway, someone that I think I would like us to interview is Mr. Eric Lakin. I selected Mr. Lakin. I think he'll be a good candidate to listen to. He lives in Milford. He has a daughter that goes to Milford High School. And he currently works with U of M staff, faculty, and researchers where they identify common needs and goals and to identify opportunities that are beneficial to a variety of different constituents. I think this man certainly works as a consensus builder. I was also interested, or he also shared in his application, his interest in technology and how it could impact Huron Valley schools. So based on that, I would look forward to listening to him in an interview if he so accepts.
Okay, is there support for that? Mr. Weissman? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Miss Pastana? Go ahead.
So much support. Yes, I also wanted to move his application along. I appreciated what he had to say about what public education meant, about students having opportunities. So yeah, I support that. Sorry, Mr. Weissman.
Okay. Are there any other applicants that the board desires to interview? Mr. Weissman.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank all the applicants for their interest. I too absolutely enjoyed going over and reading and rereading the applicants. And it's very encouraging to see so many people that are interested in serving our community in a very proactive way. I would like to move forward with Mr. Conley, Brian Conley. Brian Conley is from Commerce Township, has lived in our community for 20 years. He's in global leadership within General Motors. He has two sons that have gone through Country Oaks, Oak Valley, and Lakeland High School, and has been extraordinarily involved with them. And he's also involved with other, in this case, athletes throughout Oakland County as a referee. Things that have really stood out in my mind as it relates to Mr. Conley was his recognition of how important providing options for all of our children is, how important it is for our students to have those opportunities and to see those opportunities continue to grow. He really has articulated within his application his desire to an expansion of preschool, recognizing the needs for early intervention and meeting those needs in our pre-K-12 educational model. Also recognizes the importance of summer opportunities for our students, camps, clubs, credit recovery, and really focused on career and technical education opportunities in the trades for high schoolers, realizing that all students do not need to go to college to matriculate through and to provide quality opportunities for those students, and we need to provide greater opportunities for them, along with recognizing we need to offer more advanced opportunities for our advanced students. I see as it relates to qualified school candidates checklist, a strong leadership, capacity and experience, an understanding as it relates to an appreciation for diversity, and understanding the importance of community outreach. So with that, I'd like to bring forth Mr. Conley, Brian Conley, as a person I'd be interested in hearing more from.
Is there support for that nomination? Supported by Ms. Cotter.
Yes, thank you. I too enjoyed reading about him and everything he's been doing in the community. So I look forward to his interview.
Okay. Are there any other candidates that the board desires? Ms. Todd.
I'd like to hear more in an interview from Rose D'Ambrosi. I hope I said that right. Rose lives in Highland, and she is the applicant, I think, who's been in the Valley for the longest, 26 years. She has really done a lot to support her kids as they came through the district in parent-teacher associations at Highland Elementary, Muir, and Milford High School. Has helped with Blessings in a Backpack and the Optimist Club, the Highland White Lake Business Association. Just lots of leadership skills and lots of connections in the community to organizations. And I'd like to hear how that leadership might be able to help the students in the district and the folks here. So I'd like to hear more from Rose.
Okay. Is there support for that nomination? Mr. Wiseman.
Yes, I'll support that. I was very impressed with Rose's application, the amount of how well she has invested in our community, what she provides, and what insights that she does have and will provide as not only a parent but as a community member that has been involved in a whole array of community activities from a leadership standpoint and also from a participant standpoint. So I second that.
Okay. Are there any other candidates that the board wishes or desires to hear from? All right. Seeing none, we will close the nominations, and I'll ask, we will be interviewing on, what's today, the 24th, on the 26th, in a special board meeting. That will begin at 5 p.m. at Lakeland High School in the LGI room. We will call the meeting to order. We will have about a half an hour interview with each of the candidates. I'll work with Lori Hill on setting up those timeframes with those candidates that have been identified. Again, Amy Grisomkowski, Eric Lakin, Brian Conley, and Rose D'Ambrosi. I think that's one of the first questions I'm going to ask her is how to, if we're all in favor of that, I'll ask for a roll call vote on advancing those four forward for the interview process.
For the roll call vote, then could I have someone make a general, you're making the motion?
I'll make the motion, and is there support? Ms. Dodd's supporting.
I'll support.
Just give me a second. Thank you. Let me take a roll call vote to accept the four nominations made by this body tonight. Mr. Wiseman, or no, Mr. Carlson, you made the motion?
Yes.
Of course.
A little curveball there. Yes.
Mrs. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mrs. Pastana?
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. I look forward to these interviews.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll now move to bus purchases. Jeffrey?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Carlson. The Transportation Department developed the fleet replacement schedule when the 2019 bond was approved by the voters. This schedule was based on a reasonable replacement schedule of about 5 buses per year. The district did not purchase any buses in the 2021 cycle. With the successful passage of that bond, the district can purchase 5 buses a year under that schedule. Upon discussions with our new management in our Transportation Department, it was determined that more than 5 buses would be requested in this current cycle. The Transportation Department is currently requesting 2 general education buses and 5 special education buses. The district is recommending the purchase of 5 special ed buses from Midwest Transit for a cost of $117,306 per bus, and 2 general ed buses from Midwest Transit as well for a price of $98,270. Prices are from the lowest bid from our MSBO purchasing program. We as a district obviously are involved in our own cooperative, and we'll be looking in the next year to develop our own specifications and put buses as a part of our own cooperative. But at this time, our partner decided that it would be best that we probably purchase from MSBO this cycle. So with that being said, it's recommended that the board approve the purchase of 5 special education buses, 2 general education buses in the amount of $783,070 to Midwest Transit Company. DVRs and cameras will be a part of this bus purchase. Funds from this purchase will be from the 2020 Capital Projects Fund. And we are asking that the board authorize myself or a designee to sign any necessary contracts for this purchase.
All right, can I get a motion for passage, and then we'll ask if there's any additional questions. Ms. Pastana.
I'll make the motion to pass that.
Motion's been made. Is there support?
I'll support that.
All right, Ms. Forrest is supporting. Ms. Pastana made the motion to approve the bus purchase request. I'll now open it up for any questions. I know this was part of the report this evening, the finance and operations. I did have a question. So typically, how many buses? I know that we're constantly turning them over. So we've kind of, we go through a cycle. It's usually what, 3 to 5 buses every year?
Yeah, so at this point in time, if we were to have bought in 5 buses a year, we actually started with the 2020 cycle. So with these 7, we still will have only purchased 11 of the expected 15, which makes sense to us because over the last couple of years, our projections and our student enrollment is actually down from what we projected in 2018 when we put our bond application together. So I'm comfortable with buying more than 5 simply because we're still only buying 11 of the 15 that we have planned at this point in time. So we're still well ahead of schedule, if you will, and it allows us some flexibility should we see some student growth increase, which we all would obviously welcome to buy additional buses. But we've also condensed our inventory as recent as 3 or 4 years. We probably had an additional 20 buses, but we've been really good about scaling it down and really trying to stay as lean as possible with our fleet. So we have about 70 buses, 70 to 75, with 60 of those actively en routes, and then having obviously backup buses and then spare buses for not only special and general ed, but also for parts. And so these Midwest Transit buses are actually perfectly lining up with what we already have in our fleet. And we have parts in our inventory system that will be used to support these buses should we purchase these.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you for that recap. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Dodd?
Yeah, Jeffrey, you mentioned 5 special ed buses and 2 gen ed. When you budgeted for these, obviously there's a higher cost, almost $20,000 more. Was that budgeted for the difference between the gen ed buses and the special education buses?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, great.
Ms. Forrest?
I think maybe you answered this, but I am not sure. Where do our retired buses go? Are we hanging on to all of them, or are they still chugging, or what?
On M59.
No, so once they've reached their expiration or life with Huron Valley Schools, we put them out at auction, and then we use those proceeds again to in the past, we've used that to actually help us buy buses because we didn't have a budget for it. But now that we have the bond, it can be used to offset bond purchases, if you will. So we put that money back into the program.
Okay, good. Good use of recycling. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's important to note once again, I know that you've stated it, but I just want to point out that the proceeds that are making this purchase possible is through the bond issue. And because it's coming out of the bond issue, the requirements for purchasing these buses, if we didn't have the bond issue, wouldn't go away, and the funding would then come out of the general fund, which then would reduce the dollars that we would have available for the general education of our students. So I think it's important to note that. It's important to once again say thank you to our community for supporting that, because this has a direct impact on what we can provide to our students in the classroom. The other comment that I'd like to make, and maybe Dr. Salah or Jeffrey can respond, all districts are not the same. All transportation requirements are different from communities further south of us that don't provide transportation at all to a community like Huron Valley that is much, much larger and has a great demand for transportating our students to the door. I know we've been proactive, and Dr. Salah, you've led this, but maybe you can explain what the cost is to transport our students, where that actual cost comes from above and beyond the purchase of these buses, and how we're trying to do some things to level that playing field, because obviously it's taking away those opportunities for our students because it's decreasing the money that's available to our students.
I'd be happy to respond to that, Mr. Wiseman. I'll be brief because this could be a lengthy conversation. So we spend over $1,000 of our $8,700 per pupil just to transport our students to and from school. And we transport just over 50% of our students. That's over 4,000 of our students that require transportation. And so for each one of those children, you just take that $8,700 and remove 1,000. It's probably more now. It was 1,000 when we did the bond in 2019. I would suspect with gas prices and inflation and supply chain, we're probably closer to $1,100 or $1,200 per pupil. You mentioned it. I mean, there are neighboring districts in Oakland County that do not provide transportation. So they receive the 8,700 plus, and they don't have to lop off the top that over $1,000 just to get their kids to and from school. And I think it's important to know we have been working on this from a legislative perspective, and we've been successful in getting some language in the School Aid Act. Unfortunately, it hasn't come to full fruition, but we're trying a different strategy this go around. But I think it's important to note that there is actual research out there where they've examined what it costs on average to transport a student to and from school. And it's called the School Finance Research Collaborative. They've investigated what it takes to educate a child to mastery of standards in the state of Michigan. That's over $10,000 per pupil. That doesn't include transportation. That's just to help our children get to mastery of standards in the state of Michigan. The minimal cost that they've estimated for transportation is $750 per pupil. We don't receive any of that. So, and that doesn't include special education costs. It doesn't include children who live in poverty costs. All of those costs come directly out of that $8,700 per pupil that we receive. So we do a lot with what we have. And I think in light of the tragedy and the recent events that occurred in Oxford, there's a heavy focus on school security, on safety, on additional mental health supports. And we were hearing that just as a result of coming out of this pandemic. All of those costs too come out of that minimum foundation allowance. I call it the meager foundation allowance to provide for all these needs that we need to provide for. So I know that was kind of a long around way of answering your question, but there's a lot there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Mrs. Pastana.
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman. Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mrs. Dodd.
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
We're getting new buses.
All right. Sufficient voting in the affirmative. Motion passes. Okay. We'll now move to public comment. David Vela, please come forward. We'll put 4 minutes on the board. And then after Mr. Vela, then Shana Levin, and then Jeannie Durham. I think it's Jeannie.
Good evening. My name is Dr. David Vela. I'm a resident of the Huron Valley School District. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you again tonight. I'd appreciate about 4 minutes of your time. I recall a couple of weeks ago when Dr. Salah spoke about COVID-19 measures. He indicated that the district had been receiving, quote, mixed messages from the administration. He acknowledged that the situation is confusing. Dr. Salah, you are not alone in this sentiment. There are many Huron Valley staff, including teachers and even more members of the community, who are equally confused by the COVID-19 measures. As a doctor who has studied the pathophysiology and diagnosis of disease for the past 37 years, I believe I can provide some insight into this phenomenon. I think you would agree that physical disease can affect both individuals and groups. For example, the seasonal flu would be a classic example. It may not be as apparent, but likewise, psychological disease can affect both individuals and groups. When a group of people are confused and conflicted, just like an individual, they become open to the power of suggestion for a resolution. Unfortunately, if the situation is aggravated by exaggerated fear and discontent, they may accept solutions that are quite irrational. This leads us to a very important condition, which, as you may recall, I described in great detail at the last meeting. It's called mass formation, which can also be known as crowd formation. As lifelong learners, I was surprised that no one from the board asked any questions or approached me afterward for further discussion. Following the Holocaust, there has been tremendous effort to understand group psychology in the hope of preventing future genocide. This is a fascinating area of psychological research with many nuances and has produced astonishing results. The recent elucidation of mass formation is actually the culmination of approximately 200 years of research into group psychopathology. I would appreciate an opportunity to discuss this condition of mass formation in depth with any of you. Leading world psychologists, psychiatrists, medical researchers, scientists, and statisticians now believe we have fulfilled the conditions of mass formation. The signs and symptoms are actually quite obvious to any astute clinician. Of all the diseases I have personally encountered in my career, this is by far the most fascinating yet deadly, as it always leads to genocide. There's overwhelming evidence of this already, which I discussed at the last meeting. I would appreciate an opportunity to discuss all of this evidence with any of you. The good news is treatment has been identified and the devastating effects of this societal affliction can be mitigated. Education is key to the treatment approach, as is open dialogue and free exchange of ideas. Also, smiling and general expression of joy to those around you is very important to combat the illness. Simply being ordered to keep one's face covered, as you are doing now, serves the pathology of this formation. It is well known from ancient cultures that when a woman's face is covered, she is driven into submission. You will not hear of mass formation in the mainstream media because suppression of information is one of its critical pathologic features. However, because of the far-reaching and devastating effects of this societal illness, many in our community are learning about it daily. They're talking about it at home, around the dinner table, in the workplace, and when they're out in the community. I encourage you as education leaders to join the dialogue so we can begin to heal as a community. Truth and knowledge of this mass formation condition will come to light. As your core mission is community education, I hope that you will join us and get ahead of this learning curve. I'm available to meet with any of you to discuss this very important issue and would especially appreciate an opportunity to meet with you, Dr. Salah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. Miss Levin. And then if Jeannie Durham can at least make her way down, go ahead, Miss Levin.
Thank you. Before I start, can we get Miss Cotter like a space heater? She's so cold over there. She's got gloves and a scarf. I'm sorry. All right. So thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I didn't have anything prepared, but I come to these meetings and I can't stay silent. I can't have my kids, everybody else's kids, your kids, staff, feel like I didn't try, like we all didn't try to do something to help them. Masks are destroying our children. Speech issues are up 350% since the pandemic started. Suicides in Oakland County have gone from 7 to 21 in a year. That's an increase of 200%. Kids can't learn how to interact. We talk about SEL, social emotional learning. We forget about the S. If students can't see each other's faces, they cannot learn how to interact with people. They can't see expressions. They can't read people's faces. They can't know if the person they're talking to is someone that's going to be their friend or someone that's going to be their foe. I can't see most of your faces right now to see if you're rolling your eyes at me because I can only see half of your eyes. I can't see if you're smiling. I can't see if your lips are pursed. I can't see if you're yawning. You can see my face and you know how I feel because you can see my face. The face is pretty important. It's literally the first thing that we learn when we're born. As babies, we see our mother's faces. But we have taken that from our children and we are destroying them in ways that we don't even understand. And we are the adults in the room. I don't know who we think we're protecting by continuing to keep masks on our kids' faces. There have been study after study to show that kids aren't transmitting this virus. Kids aren't susceptible to this virus. Everybody who wants a vaccine has gotten a vaccine, so they should be immune because that's what the vaccines do. I don't know why we are choosing to take this road of, well, somebody told me I had to do this, so I'm going to do it. I don't know why you as an administration, as a board, aren't pushing back as hard on the health department as you pushed to get the masks put on our children's faces. I've seen the emails. I've been to the meetings. I know that this was a request, make a mandate, make a decision, because there was a decision. The decision was there were no masks. So if you're asking for another decision, that decision is masks. Why are teachers being allowed in this district to harass students who take their masks down simply to breathe? Oxygen should not be something that you have to ask for. We are humans, that's what we breathe. I don't understand why we're accepting the status quo. If it was determined tomorrow that there was asbestos in these curtains, you guys would immediately have this removed because it would hurt students. But we know that masks are hurting students, yet we continue day after day allowing our students, our children, to continue to come to school wearing masks, require them to come to school wearing masks. If somebody wants to, that's fine. But to require that is really just unconscionable. You've asked in this meeting for studies about compensation, engineering for parking lots. Why don't you ask for a study about masks? Ask for a study about what these masks are doing to our kids. Not nationally, not in Michigan, right here in Huron Valley. I guarantee the results you find would be heartbreaking. We really, really need to focus on taking care of these kids, stand up for these kids, do what's right. Every day that goes by is another day of depression, another day of prolonged speech issues, another day that we have failed our kids. My kids will know that I did not forget them. Will yours? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levin. Jeannie Durham.
Really have a hand
What happened?
No problem. I appreciate that. Hello, my name is Jeannie Durham, and I had 2 children in Huron Valley School District until I removed them until this mass formation is over. So the conditions attached to the ESSER funding includes the following guidelines established by the CDC. Included is health equity considerations, which are based on skin color rather than zip code. Illogical. The CDC also says that students, including those with disabilities, can tolerate and safely wear a mask. False. The CDC also says that if a child with a disability cannot wear a mask, maintain physical distancing, or adhere to other public health requests, the student is still entitled to an appropriate education, which in some circumstances may need to be provided virtually. In other words, exile the children who need in-person learning and socialization the most. The CDC also advises to have adequate supplies: soap, no-touch trash cans, hand sanitizer, etc. I'd like to know, where are all of the sharps containers to dispose of these biohazard waste, the masks? They're just filled with germs, aren't they? But there's no sharps containers anywhere. So then close contact, sitting less than 6 feet from a COVID positive person, the exposed person should quarantine at home and be referred for testing. So just being within 6 feet of another person, you want to test another healthy person. With the testing, do you not realize what happens with over-testing? False positives, which is what? Which is how these numbers are ran, aren't they? So the CDC also states that screening testing with SARS-CoV-2 viral tests intend to identify the occurrence at the individual level, even if there is no reason to suspect infection. Is anyone waking up yet? The CDC also stresses for teachers and staff to get vaccinated with an experimental concoction that has seen over 20,000 deaths so far. Their permanent disabilities are off the charts. In December, charges of crimes against humanity, among others, were filed in the International Court in Germany. It's been dubbed 2.0. If you guys don't know about it, I suggest you look it up. The CDC also said that vaccine clinics at or close to work are optimal. We never did that with the flu, did we? I don't recall that. So the CDC also points out how communication platforms can facilitate outreach to encourage school-age children as they become available to get these vaccinations. They want you to target our children. That's exactly what they're doing. So I'm sure you are all familiar with the Nuremberg Code. If not, I'd study it. You are here to protect our children, not to be whores for the pharmaceutical companies. And that's exactly what you are doing. You are giving into this genocide. So those that support this genocidal theater are complicit in crimes against humanity. Just following orders is not an excuse. Pick up a history book. You will be held accountable. I guarantee it. It's time to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
All right, that concludes our public comments for non-agenda items. We'll now move into good and welfare. Is there any good and welfare? Ms. Pastana.
I just wanted to let the Oxford community know they went back to school today. And I know we are all thinking of them, and we know it'll be a tough road, but they have the support, I think, of all the districts in Oakland County, and especially here at Huron Valley.
Thank you, Ms. Pastana. Ms. Forrest.
Sure. I would just like to plug an upcoming art show that is a collaboration between Milford High School Art Department and Huron Valley Council for the Arts. So Milford High School Art Department and their adaptive art class will be showing their artwork at Huron Valley Council for the Arts. On February 5th, there's an opening. It's a Saturday, so there's an opening for the kids from 10 to 12, and the public is welcome to attend that. And the show goes from the 5th through the 17th, and you can get more information of where the location of the HVCA is and for their hours on HuronValleyArts.org. And if you haven't been to the facility, it's the old Highland Library across from the old fire station. So it's a beautiful building. If you've never been there, this is a real good opportunity to come. So we're looking forward to this show. And thanks to the Milford High School Art Department for this.
Any other good and welfare? I've got a couple. Number one, I want to thank Isaac Perry for again organizing the Martin Luther King Day event that took place a week ago, Sunday, in downtown Milford. Isaac Perry is one of our Lakeland English language arts teachers here and has done a phenomenal job of taking the leadership of this task. It was a well-attended event, and I believe most of the board members and superintendent and coach were there as well. So thank you for your participation. The other message I have in good and welfare is to the 11 applicants that put in an application. Again, I know I mentioned it early on, really appreciative of taking the time to fill out this application and put it in. We had some great applications. Of course, we're not done with our work yet. We need to decide on one board member to add to this board. I've had the honor and privilege to serve with 16 board members in my 14 years, about to meet and the 17th person. But I also want to say when it started, I got a chance to meet somebody who I had no idea that I'd be serving with, and that was Lindsay Cotter. And my message is really to those that were not selected this evening and may not be the final candidate. Lindsay and I were not selected when we interviewed in front of the Board of Education back in 2007. So don't take that any other message. If you're interested and you want to serve on this board, there's an opportunity that will be coming up this next election cycle to serve on this board. So I just want to encourage those folks that if you're interested, stay engaged. And thank you again for putting in an application. Any other good and welfare? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.